Yo, what's good everyone? Kem Coop, aka coach of your San Antonio Salamence here. Back with week 4 of the APA Ascension League. So if you've been following us, we are currently 1-2. Had a couple close losses last week to the Philadelphia Absol. We had that 1-0, and then that really just came down to the one Rock Polish versus Diamond Storm attack turn with Diancie. And then, let's see, the week before that, we had a really close loss against the bulky team from Jack and the Sutopolis Swamperts. So, 1-2 with a +1 differential heading into week 4. Not really where I want to be, but we'll try and get some mojo back this week. We're playing Skyy and the Goldenrod Zebstrikas. So looking at Skyy's team, his first pick was Thunder's Eye, which is a very scary Pokemon for my team because of the fact that it's also his one of his Z users. So Thunder's Eye has a really nice speed tier in 111, which actually outspeeds everything on my team, unfortunately. My team has a lot of good speed mons, but nothing at like really high ends. So I pretty much have to run Choice Scarf to try and outspeed some really fast Pokemon like Thunder's Eye, for example. Thunder's Eye gets really good coverage. It gets stuff like Flash Cannon for Diancie, Grass Knot for Quagsire, obviously Electric moves for stuff like Moltres, gets Focus Blast for Ferrothorn. It even gets stuff like Dark Pulse for my Latias, things like that. So it can be a really good, really big threat against my team, but one of the bigger weaknesses of Thunder's is the fact that it can only run 4 moves, and I have enough Pokemon on my team that if I build a solid enough core, he can't kill everything on my team with the Thundurus. He simply can't run enough moves to beat every single Pokemon on my team. So that's pretty much what I went for in team building, is stop Thundurus from winning. He's also got stuff like Mega Gyarados, which is good against some members of my team. Against stuff like my Moltres, the fact that it has Mold Breaker to beat through Quagsire's Unaware is also really nice. But because of the APA rules that you have to Mega Evolve turn 1, it does really limit Mega Gyarados' utility because, for example, if I have Diancie versus Mega Gyarados, there's no mind game of, should I go for the Rock move, predicting him to Dragon Dance in regular form, or do I Moonblast, expecting the Mega, because he has to Mega turn 1 if he stays in, so I can always click Moonblast. So it removes a lot of the mind games that you can get with regular Gyarados. Nidoqueen's also a good Pokemon for my opponent. Matched up well versus like my Diancie. Obviously the Poison beating the Fairy type of Diancie and the Ground beating the Rock type of Diancie, so it has a pretty good matchup against Diancie. And it's a nice hazard setter. It's got T-Spike, Stealth Rock, that sort of stuff. Cresselia, also just a really bulky Pokemon. Toxics, can Lunar Dance back an offensive threat like Thunder's Eye or Mega Gyarados. Can set Trick Room, although Trick Room's really not that good for my opponent's team. Most of his offensive threats tend to be a bit faster, so I don't expect to see Trick Room Cress. But really, it's just like Toxic Moonlight, that sort of stuff. Silvally, also a nice utility pickup because it's just Silvally any type when you draft it, so you can kind of tech the Silvally out to meet whatever you need to do for your opponent's team. Against me, I expect my opponent's probably going to run something like Especially Defensive Silvally if he brings it. Especially Defensive Silvally Steel, because it really checks Diancie nicely and can defog pretty reliably and get rid of rocks and spikes, which are obviously going to be clutch for Pokemon like Talonflame, Thunder's Eye, that sort of stuff. Whimsicott, not a super big threat. Really, I mean, it's got Prankster Shenanigans, Memento to try and, weaken one of my offensive threats to get Gyarados in to set up, or Thunder's Eye to set up, or something like that. Buzzwole, also a pretty good Pokemon, and one that I expect him to bring. Has a nice advantage against Ferrothorn, where it can get in against Ferrothorn pretty much for free, click sub, and start doing scary things with pretty decent coverage, and just a really huge attack stat. Talonflame is also something I could see coming. My team doesn't have a lot of Brave Bird and Flare Blitz switch-ins from an Adamant Talonflame, and the cool thing about Talonflame is you can run something like Natural Gift with Lychee Berry to give it a strong grass type attack to pop stuff like Quagsire or Rotom. So that's something I could see coming with a nice little tech. And then I pretty much could see one of his rockers in either Druddigon or Steelix coming. Again, Steelix is just another good Diancie check and a hazard setter for my opponent. Druddigon can glare stuff, and just tends to be kind of a bulky Pokemon, also a decent physically defensive wall if you want to use it that way. But yeah, that's my opponent's team. Looking at it, like I said, against my team, I would definitely expect the Thunder's Eye to come. It has a really good matchup. Mega Gyarados is also definitely an option, and I pretty much expect something like Thunder's Eye, Mega Gyarados, Nidoqueen, Silvally Steel, Buzzwole, and then, I guess 2 of Thunder's Eye, Mega Gyarados, Nidoqueen, and then probably Silvally Steel, and then 2 of Cresselia, Buzzwole, and Talonflame is kind of how I built my team. So yeah, I built my team with those Pokemon in mind, and more specifically, the possibility of Dark Z Thundurus, either like Nasty Plot Z Dark Pulse Thundurus. So with that in mind, let's get into our team builder real quick, and then we will get into the battle. Alright, so my first Pokemon, Mega Diancie, as usual, bringing this Pokemon, my tier 1 pick, usually has a good matchup, and here is no different. We got Moonblast to try and pop Mega Gyarados if it stays in. Moonblast also just does a ton to anything that doesn't resist it. So pretty much Nidoqueen, Crest is bulky enough that it can take it. Talonflame's still going to take a pretty good chunk from Moonblast, and Steelix really are about like the only things my opponent has to switch into it. So yeah, Moonblast just a good stab, pretty reliable, can click it in pretty much any situation. I've got Diamond Storm. Really the Diamond Storm is just for Cress. Like it will OHKO Thunder's Eye, assuming it has no bulk. And but really it's for Cresselia in case my opponent opts to run something like Sub Calm Mind. Diamond Storm will break the sub every time and has the chance to give me boosts, because if you're running Sub Calm Mind Crest, you're more likely to run Psyshock. So getting the defense boost helps me match the Cresselia's increasing power with Calm Mind. I have Calm Mind of my own on Diancie, so I can boost alongside it and should be able to take out the Crest 1v1. Calm Mind's also really nice because it boosts the power of my Moonblast and Earth Power to make sure that there really are no switch-ins to this. With 252 special attack, +1 Earth Power is going to OHKO a 252 HP Nidoqueen. I think even with some special defense, it should OHKO it. Also does a ton to specially defensive Steelix and to Silvally. So that's really pretty much the reason I have that. Moonblast Earth Power is going to be my main offensive options on Diancie in this game. And Diamond Storm really only being there, like I said, for stuff like Thundurus or Talonflame. Yeah, so I really like my Diancie here. We've only running enough speed for Gourgeist Small, I think. Because I can't... His fastest Pokemon is Thunder's Eye. And then after that, there's a big gap. I think the Whimsicott... Let me see, I'm trying to remember how fast the Whimsicott is. I know it's a lot. I think it's faster than Thunder's T. Yeah, it's 116 base. So obviously I can't outrun that. I can't outrun Thunder's Eye, but I can outrun everything else on his team. So that's what I EV'd for. HP dump means that +1. So after Calm Mind, I can live a max special attack Nidoqueen Earth Power with Life Orb Sheer Force. So yeah, that's really what that's there for. Can also live a Thunder's Eye max special attack Flash Cannon at +1, so that's also good to know. Our second Pokemon is Moltres here. Moltres goes in this game, it looks like. Opponent's fire resists are extremely limited, being Mega Gyarados and possibly a Silvally type and Talonflame. And Druddigon, I guess, but really I don't expect to see Druddigon. I don't expect to see something like Silvally Rock. I would expect Silvally Steel. So with that in mind, really my opponent's only resist that he's likely to bring is Mega Gyarados. So Flamethrower, it's going to be really nice offensively. We've also got Pressure Stall Zapmer Moltres with Subtoxic Roost. Moltres, again, with the 90 base speed tier, has really good speed tier against my opponent. It's faster than everything, barring like max speed Silvally, or Gourgeist, or the Whimsicott, or the Thunder's Eye. So that's what I'm running the speed for. I can get off subs on any of his bulkier Pokemon to make sure they can't Toxic me. I can Toxic them back, and with my HP investment, it's going to be hard for that sub to be broken in one hit by weak Pokemon like Cresselia. So I can pretty much Pressure Stall them out of Psyshocks with Subtoxic Roosts, and then just break through my opponent that way. So I really like Moltres here. keeping off rocks is going to be a priority to make sure I keep Moltres alive as possible, as long as possible, and give it as many switch-ins as possible as well. Okay, next Pokemon here, we got the Quagsire. Just kind of our standard build. We've got max HP, max defense Quagsire, unaware of course, just to try and check stuff like the Gyarados or possibly the Swords Dance Talonflame, something like that. Running pretty standard set. Toxic Stall is really good against my opponent if I can toxic stuff like Whimsicott, Buzzwole, Talonflame, Druddigon, Gourgeist, Cresselia on the switch in. It's going to be really easy for me to try and beat them down with my really bulky core of Quagsire, Ferrothorn, as you can see, Latias, and Moltres. Toxic Stall does really well at just chipping away my opponent's team into range. I've got Scald just for an offensive move. And packing the Protect. Protect really just gives us a chance to recover more HP with leftovers, but really it's for Talonflame. So if my opponent is opting to run like Z Solar Beam Talonflame or Natural Gift Lychee Berry Talonflame, we can Protect on it and burn that one-time nuke. Natural Gift, actually I did test it on Showdown. If you Protect on a Natural Gift, it does burn the berry and you can no longer use that Natural Gift to do damage. So yeah, that's why we're running Protect on our Quag. But really it's just there to kind of be a blanket check. It may not actually be that useful depending on what my opponent brings, but really it's just there to make sure that I don't lose to Talonflame. Next Pokemon here, we got Ferrothorn with nice Stealth Rocks to try and chip away at my opponent's team. Weaken that Thunder's Eye on the switch in, weaken Talonflame, all that good stuff. Gyarados hasn't Mega Evolved, and then just got Leech Seed. Again, just steal some of my opponent's HP, chip them away, keep Ferrothorn healthy to make sure my opponent really has no chance of breaking through this bulky core. And then we're just running Knockoff Power Whip. Knockoff really just to try and get rid of items. If my opponent's running a bulkier build with a lot of leftovers, if we can get rid of those leftovers, makes my opponent's team a lot easier to deal with. Power Whip's really there just to hit Steelix for some damage and make sure I can check my Gyarados with Ferrothorn if I need. We're opting for a more specially defensive Ferrothorn variant. With this specific build, we live Max Special Attack Timid, Thunder's Eye, Thunderbolt into Z Focus Blast 100% of the time after leftovers recovery, which is going to be really nice for scouting a Z move or tanking it if we have to. We can stall out the Thunder's Eye a bit with Leech Seed, Power Whip, that sort of stuff. So, yeah. That's our Ferrothorn. Next Pokemon we got is our Latias with the Colbur Berry. So as I mentioned earlier, we're running Colbur Berry Latias to check the possibility of Nasty Plot, Z Dark Pulse, Thunder's Eye, and we're running Modest Latias with enough special attack to make sure that I can KO Zero Bulk Thundy Eye with Draco Meteor after Rocks. Toxic again, like I said, Toxic Stall is going to be really good against my opponent, so we're just running Toxic Recover on a bulkier Latias build. We've only got enough speed for, I think, for max speed Gyarados. Yeah, enough speed for max speed Gyarados, and then the rest dumped into HP and defense. Psychic's really there just to make sure I can get rid of Buzzwole and do a ton of Nidoqueen. And yeah, that's our Latias. I was actually considering running Defog here, but I think I must have. I think I was planning on running Defog on this slot, but I think I actually ended up opting to run Toxic instead, and yeah. It didn't end up mattering in the match, but definitely I think I should have been running Defog on this to make sure that my Moltres never had to deal with rocks being up. And finally, our last Pokemon, I got Scarf Moxie Heracross with Stone Edge, Close Combat, Mega Horn Knockoff. Running enough speed for +1 Mega Gyarados and enough bulk to make sure that we can live a +1 Waterfall 100% of the time. Stone Edge is there for the Thundy Eye. This is my only way of outspeeding the Thunders 100%. And then we got Dual Stabs, which hit his team, really the Steelix and possible Silvally Steel. Mega Horn, nice for the Cresselia. And Knockoff again, nice for Cresselia, nice for just getting rid of items like Nidoqueen, Black Sludge, or Life Orb, for hitting Gourgeist, that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's the team we're bringing here. I like what I built. I feel like I've prepped for a lot of what my opponent can do, and I like my core. I feel like my opponent's gonna have a hard time breaking it. So yeah, that's the team. And with that in mind, let's go ahead and head over to our battle. Alright, so we got the battle here. My opponent has brought pretty much what I expected him to bring. We see the Gyarados, see the Thunderside, the Nidoqueen, the Buzzwole, and Silvally. As I said, it's probably going to be Silvally Steel. The only thing he brought was the Whimsicott over possible Crest or Talonflame, which I didn't expect, but it really shouldn't be that much of a difference, or make that much of a difference. Whimsicott is a pretty weak offensive Pokemon. So even if it's running like Life Orb, HP Rock, it doesn't OHKO my bulky or Moltres, and it's going to drop to a Flamethrower. And honestly, I like Moltres' matchup versus the Whimsicott a lot better than I do its matchup against Crest or against Talonflame. But yeah, looking at this game, Moltres is so good for me. My opponent's resist, assuming that it is in fact Silvally Steel, is the Mega Gyarados, which is not going to switch in repeatedly. So yeah, Moltres looks really good. Main goal for me is going to be to preserve the Moltres and keep the hazards off the field. Anyways, let's go ahead and get into this game. So I predict Nidoqueen lead to try and get up hazards and lead off with my Latias. So yeah, this is how I did my test games. I let off Latias to block Nidoqueen, so it worked out just the way I tested it. I Psychic into Silvally Steel. Looking at the damage calcs, it is specially defensive Silvally Steel. So I do call that set as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and swap out here. I go into my Ferrothorn as my opponent makes this a nice play, Parting Shining into their Buzzwole. I'm going to go Quag here because looking at my opponent's team, Quag is actually pretty useless because there's no Talonflame. I don't need Quagsire that much other than to try and check Buzzwole and maybe get off some damage on Nidoqueen. So my opponent's going to reveal Sub, which I did kind of expect him to run Sub Buzzwole because it gets up a Sub pretty freely on Ferrothorn, and Ferrothorn can't break the Sub. So yeah, I'll just go for Protect, see what he goes for. So he just throws off a Toxic. I don't really want to let anything else get Toxic, and like I said, Quagsire is not particularly useful, so I'm just going to throw off a Scald here and take the Toxic. However, Scald doesn't break the Sub, so it tells me this is a little bit of a bulkier Buzzwole, with probably a lot of HP and special defense investment if my Scald doesn't break. Here, I don't expect him to double Toxic, I expect him to just Drain Punch, so I'm going to go hard out to my Moltres, as he does in fact go for the Drain Punch. Now this ends up being a really nice situation here because he can't do anything to me. So I just click Sub because I figure he's probably going to be running Drain Punch to Leech Life for Latias. I don't think he's going to run Rock Slide Buzzwole, so I know he can't break my Sub. I'll go for the Sub as he goes for the Toxic and it fails. So this is a great situation for me. He actually switches hard out into Nidoqueen as I go for the Flamethrower. Now, I'm okay with this, because if he wants to get up hazards, he's going to essentially trade his Nidoqueen, because I will KO it with 2 more Flamethrowers, and I guaranteed outspeed this thing unless it's Choice Scarf. So, I go for the Flamethrower. I see that he's not Choice Scarf. He goes for Sludge Wave, but he's in range of another Flamethrower. So, I'll take that trade all day. He didn't get up hazards with Nidoqueen, and that thing is very weak, and is not in any position to check my Diancie anymore. So here, I just throw off a Flamethrower, get off about 19% on Gyarados. Good chip for later. I go hard into Heracross here, actually. Mainly because I expected him to predict Ferrothorn to come in, and that he would want to go to something like Buzzwole. Heracross gives me a little bit more of a neutral matchup against Buzzwole, and especially because the possibility I could be running like Aerial Ace. It also actually covers the Thunders too. So when I see the Thunders come in here, I fear that he's running something like Nasty Plot Z Focus Blast, because he brought the Thunders in on a really obvious Ferrothorn play. So by him bringing the Thunders in on a possible Ferrothorn, it tells me that he probably has some way to hit Ferrothorn. So I'm glad I went out to Heracross. I got my Choice Scarf Stone Edge in. I click Choice Scarf Stone Edge here. We hit. We do about 21% to Buzzwole. Not great damage, but it works. Here I got the Diancie. If he throws off the Toxic, my Diancie is in a good enough position that the Toxic won't matter, because to me this game feels like I'm going to just be pivoting Diancie in for one turn, attacking, switching back out into one of my other walls. So Toxic doesn't matter that much, and it's much better for this to get Toxic than something like Latias or Moltres. So yeah, here I'm going to predict him to switch out. Really his only switch into Moonblast is going to be either the Silvally Steel or the Nidoqueen, so predicting that I just go for the Earth Power here. It does reveal to be Shuckaberry Nidoqueen, so it's really good that I got the chip off that I did earlier, because obviously the +1 Earth Power is not going to KO this thing through the Shuckaberry. But yeah, so we get rid of the Neo Queen there. So hazards are gone for my opponent, which is awesome for me. He does go out to Thunderous. I predict the Flash Cannon and go out to my Latias here. He gets the special defense drop, which is a little bit scary because I've taken some chip, and if he's going to reveal something like Z Dark Pulse, it's going to do a heck of a lot more. But looking at the calc, as long as he doesn't have a Nasty Plot up, he's not going to be able to KO through my Colbur Berry, even with the special defense drop. So I stay in here, just go for Psychic, got to get damage off on this thing. He does reveal Black Hole Eclipse. It does a little too much for what I expected. And then I end up getting a Psychic off, and I crit knock it out with one hit. So the crit definitely mattered for sure. And looking at damage calcs, I actually got a high roll crit against Naive Thunderous. And so I was talking to my opponent during the game, and obviously the crit was huge. It turns out that he was mixed Thunderous, which is why he was running Naive, and that was a Z Crunch with Volt Switch, Grass Knot, and Flash Cannon as his set. So yeah, that set would have been really good against me. It did get walled by Ferrothorn, so I don't really know how effective the Thunderous would have been without any sort of boosting move to really threaten any of my members. But the crit's huge. I get rid of the Thunderous, and I keep my Latias alive. Here he's going to go out to Whimsicott here. This is a free Ferrothorn for me. If he is HP Fire Whimsicott, then my Moltres is going to wall it, and if he's HP Rock Whimsicott, then my Ferrothorn walls it. So yeah, he turns out, takes a little bit of chip, breaks possible Focus Sash as he goes out to Silvally Steel. Yeah. Here, I just go hard out to my Moltres here. I don't expect him to Toxic. I just expect a Flamethrower or something. And, yeah, he does end up going for a Flamethrower against my Ferrothorn, and I get my Moltres in for free. I click sub here as he Party Shots. Surprised he would have been willing to let me get off a good chunk on him, but whatever. I'm just going to throw off a Toxic here on the Gyarados. I put this thing on a timer and start chipping it down. Opponent's going to go for Dragon Dance. This gives me a free Roost, and then I can switch out to my Ferrothorn. He's just going to Waterfall into me. Takes another 12% from the Toxic as I Roost, get my Moltres back all the way to full. And now I'm just going to go Ferrothorn. He makes a nice play, predicts it, doubles to Buzzwole. But here, I'm just going to go Latias here. Latias is probably the most expendable member at this point. So if he wants to Leech Life and KO it, great. If he wants to Toxic it, whatever. But he does just go for the Drain Punch here, as I'm able to get up a Recover, get this thing back to full health. Now here, at this point in the game, I realize that I'm ahead by a lot, and there's pretty much no way I can lose as long as I keep Moltres alive. So I'm just kind of feeling myself a little bit, decided to make a flex play. I don't expect him to go for the Iron Head. Expect him to either go for maybe like a Toxic or a Party Shot. I don't expect him to Iron Head or multi-attack, so feeling myself a little bit, I decided to make a flex play. Go out to my Diancie here. Now for those of you guys who don't know, Diancie with Magic Bounce against Parting Shot actually has a really interesting interaction. So because Parting Shot's a status move, Magic Bounce does reflect it, but what ends up happening is that the way Parting Shot works with Magic Bounce is that my Diancie essentially uses Parting Shot on the Silvally. So I Magic Bounce it, he gets the stat drop, and it gives me a free switch. So I get my Moltres in for free with that flex play. And block his Parting Shot, get my Moltres in without stat drops. So that was awesome. Now I just Flamethrower, get off 55%. This thing is now in range of Moltres. The next time it comes in, he's going to go Gyarados. This just gives me a free sub. He can't really do anything against that. If he wants to Dragon Dance, he gives me a free sub. If he just wants to attack, then I get off in the 12%. Same here. He goes into Buzzwole, trying to, let's see, go back a little at one turn. So yeah, he goes Gyarados, expects me to go Ferrothorn here, but again, I have him faster and I have subs. There's no reason for me to do that in case he wants to overpredict and make an aggressive double. This just gives me a good position here. I go for the sub, as he's going to switch out to his Gyarados, and yeah, I just click Flamethrower. I get another crit, which is obviously huge, because it's going to give my Moltres another kill, because he's going to take another 26% for Toxic. I Flamethrower again, and after the Toxic, he's going to be in range, so pick up my KO here with the Flamethrower, and now it's down to just 3 things that are weak to Flamethrower. So this game is over. He goes Whimsicott. In case it is HP Rock, I switch out. This goes for Memento and just sacrifices himself. Goes Buzzwole. At this point, I can just risk Moltres. I know he doesn't have Rock Slide. Even if he does, I should be able to live it, and I can just click Flamethrower twice and win this game. So, Flamethrower there, drops the Buzzwole. Silvally comes out. We've already shown that I'm faster and that it's in range of my Flamethrower. Click Flamethrower one more time and knock out the Silvally. So, yeah, obviously pick up a nice 6-0 win here to get back to 2-2, +7 differential. It's definitely going to be great for possible playoffs, having that good of a differential for my record. Ultra is putting in huge amounts of work here, but yeah, really happy with the prep I put in this week. I feel like I really predicted what my opponent was going to bring pretty well, and that we had the team really to match what he was going to bring. Crit was definitely big. I mean, I can't understate the fact that me just getting rid of the Thunders in one hit with my Latias was big, and is the only reason I 6-0'd. Because if I didn't crit it, I would have had to probably sack my Latias there. I mean, I could have gone to something like Ferrothorn and scouted, since I know that now he's not going to be like Nasty Plot. You're not going to run a set like Flash Cannon, Nasty Plot, Focus Blast, and Dark Pulse. Yeah, because you would have to be Dark Pulse, Nasty Plot, Focus Blast, Flash Cannon, which like I feel like you wouldn't not run Stab on Thunders, so I probably could have gone Ferrothorn and kept trying to 6-0. But it did make it a heck of a lot easier just getting rid of that Thunders, because that was an offensive threat that put a lot of pressure on my team. But even if I didn't crit, I think this game was pretty much over. The Thunders would have gone down to about 35% maybe without the crit. And then it couldn't switch in on any attacks from any of my offensive Pokemon. And just the way my Moltres, the set that my Moltres had, I just don't see any way that my opponent was going to break it without rocks. And I think every time Moltres came in, it would have gotten a kill. And that I would have just ultimately been in a really good position, because you can only bring in Thunders so many times. And yeah, then like as soon as Thunders went down, the Moltres was always going to just win. So I think even if I didn't crit, I think at worst it probably would have been like a 4-0 instead of a 6-0. But yeah, that happens. And yeah, good games to my opponent. Really happy we picked this one up. It's nice to get back to 2-2, back to 500, good differential, and really not too upset about the 2 losses that I have taken this season. Looking at the stats so far, so the first guy I lost to is 4-0 right now, and the second guy I lost to is 3-0. Hasn't played his week 4 match, but yeah, so you can see both those guys are obviously good players. So taking losses to them in my first season of Draft League, you know, I'll take that. As long as I'm picking up the wins that I should be. You know, if I'm beating the average players in this league and some of the good players, I think we'll be pretty set to make playoffs. So yeah, anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you next week for some more APA action. Try to get back to a winning record, but until then, peace.